welcome, or maybe consider this your warning. Because from this moment on, you're about to cross an invisible line, the one that separates the world of the living from whatever lies beyond. But before we dive in, let me give you a very serious heads up. This show is not recommended for the faint of heart, anyone with heart conditions, or anyone who thinks the worst thing that can happen at night is a power outage. Here, terror doesn't knock. It creeps in sometimes through the corner of a mirror, through the sound of a distant cry in the dead of night, or through the reflection of something that, honestly, shouldn't be there. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into supernatural encounters passed down through generations, stories chilling enough to terrify even those who swear they don't believe in the paranormal. We'll explore tales of childhood hauntings, terrifying apparitions, mysterious shadows, and even face the dreaded doppelganger, that ghostly twin said to be a harbinger of bad things to come. You'll also learn about the legends that haunt the small towns of Mexico, where nighttime fear is part of daily life and where holy water is as common as salt on the dinner table. And trust me, if you think this is just about ghosts, think again. There are things far worse lurking in the shadows. Things like the infamous Siren of the Black Nights, a creature from the sea that shows up to foretell tragedy. And of course, there's La Llorona, the weeping woman, doomed to wander forever, dragging not only her white dress through the muddy roads but the souls of those foolish enough to cross her path. You know those stories that, the more you try to forget, the more they haunt you? Yeah. Tonight, we're bringing them back. And I promise after you hear what's coming, looking in a mirror will never feel quite so harmless again. So, lock your doors. Light a candle if you must. And get ready. Because the cursed Siren's song has begun. And what comes next just might steal your sleep tonight. You ever notice how some nights just feel quieter than they should? Yeah, it's exactly in that kind of eerie silence that I invite you to join me on a journey, one that crosses the boundaries of what's real and what lies beyond. Tonight's show isn't just about scary stories. It's about encounters that defy logic, shake our beliefs, and awaken that primal fear we all carry deep inside. But before we go any further, let me give you a warning, and no, this isn't just for drama. It's for survival. If you're sensitive, easily spooked, or prone to that creeping fear when the lights go out, you might want to grab a friend, maybe a crucifix, and definitely keep some holy water close by. Because when it comes to the paranormal, the unexpected doesn't knock. It just walks right in. What you're about to hear aren't bedtime stories or spooky folklore made up to scare kids. These are real experiences, lived by real people, ordinary folks in situations that could happen to anyone. And the truth is, there's no rational explanation. From strange reflections in the mirror to shadowy figures lurking in plain sight, even encounters with someone's ghostly twin, the dreaded doppelganger, these stories have one thing in common: they leave scars. Scars that not even time can erase. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without a touch of that signature flavor from Mexico's rural legends, where the supernatural isn't just possible. It's part of daily life. These are places where people grow up hearing stories about the protective spirit of a grandmother, the chilling presence of Santa Muerte who walks that razor-thin line between devotion and dread, and sea creatures like the infamous Siren of the Black Nights, who shows up when disaster is near. So, from this moment on, you are officially invited to cross this invisible boundary with me. Get ready, because each story you'll hear tonight has the power to rattle not only your fears, but your entire sense of reality. And just a heads up, if, at any point, you feel a chill run down the back of your neck, maybe look behind you. Just to be safe. The girl in the mirror. So, if you think mirrors are just for checking your hair or fixing your makeup, you might want to rethink that. Our first story is one of those childhood hauntings that can shake even the most skeptical adults. It all started with the narrator's niece, a little girl, just 3 years old, who kept insisting that a girl would appear to her. And the most disturbing part? This girl didn't just talk to her, she would push her, even scratch her. At first, like most families, they chalked it up to an overactive imagination. But, as is often the case with these paranormal encounters, things started getting way too weird to be a coincidence. One afternoon, seemingly just another normal day, the narrator was home alone when he caught something in the reflection of the living room window. And that's when his blood ran cold. Staring back at him was a girl dressed exactly like his niece. But something was terribly wrong. Same clothes, same hairstyle. But this girl was older. Much older. Around 10 years old. And then it happened. She locked eyes with him, spun around, and bolted straight toward the niece's bedroom. His instincts kicked and he sprinted after her, flung open every door, tore the room apart, checked under the bed, behind the curtains. But there was nothing. Not a single trace of anyone. Now, hey, race the part that'll send shivers down your spine. Years later, when his niece actually grew up, right around 10 years old, the narrator noticed something that made his skin crawl. She was identical to that figure he saw in the reflection. Same face. Same hair. Same intense stare. It was like had caught a glimpse of the future that day. Or maybe something else entirely. But what the hell was it? A warning? A glitch in reality? Or maybe something darker, like a doppelganger, that ghostly double that legends say only shows up as a bad omen. No one knows for sure. But one thing's certain: from that day forward, he never looked at a mirror the same way again. And between you and me, maybe after this story, you want either Grandma's doppelganger. Buckle up, because this one'll make you think twice before getting out of bed in the middle of the night. It happened back in 1968, in Guerrero, Mexico, a place where folklore and the supernatural are as real as the dirt roads themselves. That night, the narrator's mother, who was just 8 years old at the time, woke up with a desperate need to use the bathroom. Problem was, like most houses back then, the bathroom was outside. As she got ready to head out, she noticed something odd. Her own mother, the narrator's grandmother, was getting up and walking out ahead of her. At first, it felt reassuring, but then, something clicked. The girl noticed that her mother's figure wasn't walking. It was gliding. Her feet weren't moving. Her dress floated inches above the ground. A chill ran down her spine. And yet, curiosity got the better of her. She decided to follow, thinking maybe her mom was just going to the bathroom too. But the closer she got, the more wrong it felt. Suddenly, without warning, the figure vanished into the darkness. Gone. Like smoke blown away by the wind. That's when terror fully set in. She screamed a raw, desperate scream and bolted back toward the house as fast as her legs could carry her. As she burst through the front door, shaking, breathless, she was met by her real mother, very much alive, standing there, holding a candle with a face as pale as hers. And the first thing her mom asked, with a trembling voice, was, "Why were you screaming out in the yard?" She hadn't left the house at all. She was awake because she'd heard her daughter's footsteps and her cries. Right then and there, both of them understood what the little girl saw wasn't from this world. Without wasting a second, they lit every candle in the house, grabbed the holy water, and started praying, reciting every protective prayer and blessing the elders had passed down for generations. Whatever that was, it never came back. Not there. Not again. But anyone familiar with the deep, mystical corners of rural Mexico knows sometimes these encounters aren't accidents. They're warnings. A reminder that the veil between worlds is thinner than we like to believe. Santa Muerte at the Red Cross. If you think hospitals are just places for healing, you might want to rethink that. Especially during the night shift. This story happened back in 2002, at the Red Cross in Guadalajara, when the narrator was doing volunteer work there. That night, 2 prisoners were brought in after a brutal fight. One of them had a metal rod driven straight through his lung, barely alive. While the medical staff scrambled to save his life, something about this man caught the narrator's eye. Despite being at death's door, the prisoner clutched a rosary in one hand and had a massive tattoo of Santa Muerte inked on his arm. And this wasn't some cheap tattoo. It was detailed with hollow eyes that seemed to follow you. Between groans of pain, the prisoner kept whispering, "My girl's gonna protect me." That girl was Santa Muerte. As the chaotic night unfolded, things started getting weird. The narrator began noticing something, a shadow. Not a person. Something bigger. Faster. Moving like a massive black cat crawling through the halls. It would flicker in and out, skimming along the walls, disappearing into corners no one dared to look at. The nurses pretended not to see. They turned their eyes away. Even the emergency room radio started hissing white noise for no reason at all. Then just before dawn, it happened. The other prisoner, the one with fewer injuries, suddenly dropped dead. Heart attack. No warning. Minutes away from being cleared to leave. Panic hit the ER. But what came next? Chills. The man with the Santa Muerte tattoo calmly looked at the narrator, grinned, and said, "Why did you try to stop my girl? She won't hurt you. Unless you mess with her." And just like that, the air got heavier than ever. In that moment, it became crystal clear that something way bigger was at play. Something that had nothing to do with medicine. And everything to do with forces far beyond. Anyone who knows the ways of the Mexican pueblos knows this. When it comes to Santa Muerte, the line between protection and a curse is razor thin. And from that night forward, the narrator never again ignored the signs. Neither the shadows, nor the eyes watching from somewhere unseen. The siren of the Black Nights. If there's one thing fishermen respect and fear, it's the stories that come from the sea. And trust me, they've got good reason. Anyone who grew up in the coastal villages of Yucatan knows that when the skies darken a little too fast, when the wind turns icy, and when the salty air feels heavier, something beyond the natural is coming. And it was on one of those nights that she appeared, the dreaded Siren of the Black Nights. They say this creature only shows up on nights before a hurricane or tragedy. And listen, this isn't your fairy tale mermaid with flowing hair and a sweet voice. No. This thing is a true sea monster, razor-sharp teeth, hollow eyes, and a stare cold enough to freeze the soul of even the toughest sailor. Anyone who's seen her never forgets. And those who've heard her song? They carry that sound for the rest of their lives. The narrator's godmother, Alberta, a fearless woman, seasoned by years of storms and fighting the ocean, swears on her life that she saw it. She said that night, while everyone was pulling their nets in early, something strange stirred in the water. And then it rose. Pale skin, like something long dead. Soaked, stringy hair clinging to her face. And teeth gleaming like blades in the beam of Alberta's lantern. As for her voice, pure nightmare. With a mix of courage and raw survival instinct, Alberta aimed her lantern right at the creature's face. The siren shrieked a sound so sharp, so inhuman, It felt like glass shattering inside your ears, then dove back into the pitch-black water and vanished. That night, the entire village stayed awake. And just days later, a hurricane hit. Like the siren hadn't just predicted disaster, but warned anyone who dared listen. After that, Alberta never saw the creature again, not with her own eyes, anyway. But every now and then, when the sea grows restless and the skies turn heavy, she swears she still hears it. That same ghostly song, tangled in the sound of crashing waves. And everyone in Yucatan knows when the siren of the Black Night sings. The danger isn't coming. It's already here. Encounter with La Llorona. If there's one ghost that has haunted the villages of Mexico for generations, it's her. La Llorona. The woman in white. Condemned to wander forever, searching for the children she lost. Or the ones, some say, she drowned with her own hands. And trust me, anyone who thinks this is just a bedtime story to scare kids? Dead wrong. Just ask the two boys in this story. Because what they experienced, it stays with you for life. It started on one of those nights when fate just doesn't give you a choice. One of the boys' mothers was seriously sick. No other option. The two boys, barely 10 years old, had to cross the entire village after dark to get medicine from the only pharmacy still open. Problem is, if you know these villages, you know one thing: when the sun goes down, the streets don't belong to people anymore. They belong to something else. Halfway there, it began. A wail. Soft. Distant. But filled with pain. And despair. Step by step, it grew louder. Closer. Until suddenly there she was. A woman in white, long hair covering her face, standing in the middle of the dirt road. But what froze them wasn't just the way she looked. It was how she moved. She wasn't walking. She was gliding. Slowly. Silently. Coming straight toward them. No questions. No hesitation. They turned and ran like their lives depended on it, because they did. They busted into the pharmacy, gasping for air, faces pale, voices shaking. And before they could even explain, the pharmacist locked the door, looked at them, and said, "Dead serious, you saw her, didn't you? La Llorona. Yeah. She shows up around here. Cries through these streets on nights just like this." He lit candles, said prayers. And they waited. The boys made it home that night. But neither of them was ever the same again. Even as grown men, they still wake up sometimes, haunted by that cry. And if you ask anyone from those villages, they'll tell you the truth: La Llorona is real. More than a ghost. More than a legend. She's a warning. A reminder that when the wind shifts, and a cry pierces the night, you'd better lock your doors, say your prayers, and wait for daylight. Because sometimes, she doesn't leave alone. And just like that, we've reached the end of this dark journey. But before you turn the lights back on and pretend none of this ever happened, there's something you should remember. For those who live in the most mysterious corners of Mexico, these stories aren't just legends. They're daily life. A way of surviving in a world where, when the sun goes down, the line between the living and the dead simply disappears. It's not an exaggeration to say that in these places, life belongs to the daylight. And spiritual battles begin the moment night falls. So, if you ever visit one of these towns, don't be surprised when people start closing their doors, lighting incense, spreading holy water across their thresholds, and chanting protective prayers. It's just how they deal with the things you might not see, but can absolutely feel. Because after hearing about childhood hauntings, eerie reflections in the mirror, doppelgangers that foreshadow tragedy, shadows creeping through hospital halls, and the eternal cry of La Llorona, who are we to say this isn't real? Maybe the difference between believers and skeptics is simply that some haven't experienced it yet. And if you think all of this is just old folklore from another time, think again. Even today, there are people who swear they've seen, heard, or felt these things firsthand. The cursed song of the Siren of the Black Nights, the cold, empty stare of Santa Muerte, or that one wrong reflection in the mirror. When the supernatural decides to show itself, there's no lock, no prayer, and no candle strong enough to stop it completely. So, let me leave you with a piece of advice from someone who knows better now. Take care of your energy, keep your prayers close, and always have holy water within reach. And if, just if, you hear distant crying in the middle of the night, or spot a shadow where there shouldn't be one, remember you were warned. And if you're brave enough, it'll be waiting for you in the next episode. So, after everything you've heard tonight, let me ask you something and be honest. Do you really believe these are just stories? Just legends? Or deep down, are you starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, the world is far stranger, far darker, and far more mysterious than we like to admit? How many times have you brushed off that chill down your spine? That strange reflection? That noise in the middle of the night? Think about it. Are these stories just imagination? Or are they warnings? Messages left behind by those who've witnessed what most of us are too scared to even acknowledge? How often has life tried to show you that there's more, way more than what we can see, and you just chose to look away? Maybe tonight, that choice isn't yours anymore. And it makes me wonder, how many secrets still hide in the shadows? How many ghosts, creatures, and dark things are out there, just waiting? Watching? Maybe for someone like you. And what if, next time you glance at your reflection, it's not just you staring back? Creepy thought, right? But what if you want to keep diving into this world of paranormal encounters, ghost stories, cursed legends, protection rituals, and mysteries that defy reason, then stick around. Because trust me, this is only the beginning. The next episode? Oh, it gets even darker, even stranger. And honestly, what you heard tonight, child's play compared to what's coming. So, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Share this with that one friend who swears they don't believe. Or the one who does, just to see who screams first. And remember, when you hear a strange noise outside, or catch something move just out of the corner of your eye, it might not be your imagination. It might be that now they know you're listening.